sort of a trend I've seen with artists who grow older and just master their craft is that they kind of can slowly become unrelatable to people who aren't also interested in that craft. I oftentimes see bands who, as time goes on, their sound gets more and more, like, technically good, but farther away from anything their fans wanted to listen to in the first place. But the band will always say, like, oh, this is our favorite album we've done. We are the most proud of this album. And a lot of fans will be looking at them like, oh, they're just saying that because they're promoting the thing, you know. But it's so consistent, and I don't feel like most of these bands, you know, would say that. Like, I don't think they would just lie about, like, why the fact that they're interested in their album so consistently. For instance, you look at Opeth, who I recently did a worst to best video on, and I don't really like their newer material, which is all far more technical, particularly in the instrumentation. Everything's very intricate and complex, but not really fun and cool and engaging the way that their previous music was. I see lots of bands who get better and better with the studio sound of their music, where everything sounds cleaner and cleaner and more produced, and like they've gotten to do things they obviously always wanted to do, but there's not the raw spark of like emotion that encouraged their early music, so it just doesn't have that same pull. It's not to say that every artist who goes down this road like ends up badly. It's just that I feel like when you're young and you're testing the waters and you're trying to figure things out, then it's all about like how you're feeling and the experimentation and like creating something new like you've never gotten to do before, and just like everything's mind-blowing to yourself. So like there's this intimacy and fascination with what you're creating. And then as you grow older and you get used to making that stuff, and like your life sort of gets sorted out and you're not really like struggling and hungry the way that you were as a young artist, and it becomes more about like, well, I just want to make like this idea I've had in my head of like a thing that could be made that like it has nothing to do with what anybody else is going to care about. It only has to do with like scratching this weird particular itch that only a person who's been doing this for 10-20 years would have. I personally have started approaching, like, falling into this trap when it comes to writing my videos for my main channel in particular. If you keep up with all my shit talking, you've probably heard me complain a lot about how, like, I feel like a lot of people who write videos aren't really good as writers. They're good at, like, making an entertaining product, but they're not really good at, like, technical writing and stuff like that. And I'm not, like, amazing at technical writing either, but the funny thing about it is that, like, no one really expects me to or wants me to be. Like, that's not what people are looking for in my videos at all. I recently put out this video about Evangelion and how it impacted the anime industry, and that video is completely unscripted. It was basically just me going like, okay, something has to come out, I just want to make this video, I don't want to have to like write this because it's going to be a huge project if I try to write it, whereas I could do it unscripted and it'll be like make enough sense and people will be able to get it. And so I did it that way, and like I have all these technical issues with it. I hate that I say the phrase out there like 12 times in the fucking video, or the phrase goofy. I've been using that word way too much. I just like, there's all these repetitive words, there's not much like craft in the sentence structure, there's not much like structure to the video overall. I mean, it holds together fairly well and I edited a lot of stuff out, but like to me it was, oh, I wonder if people are going to notice that this is, like, mediocre in its writing. Like, are people going to be upset with this video? Are people going to be like, you know, what happened to the standard you used to have? And instead, the reaction was, oh my god, Digi, this is the best video you've made all year. You're finally back to making good videos. I forgot you could do amazing written content. And I was like, yeah, written content, that sure is my thing, you know? But it's because, like, what I get out of writing is constantly trying to improve in these subtle ways that, like, I don't know, would only really impress me. Like, a lot of the sentences I've written that I care about the most, like, that I give myself a pat on the back or clap my hands for having written, are the ones that no one really notices. Like, people really notice the broad point of the video. They care about what it has to say, not about how it's said so much. And I think that's the trap that a lot of these artists fall into, is it becomes about how it's said, but without really saying something that anybody wants to hear. It becomes more and more self-indulgent. It becomes more about, like, what do I want to produce, what do I think will sound cool for me, you know, and make me happy. And you can get away with it because at that point you've already got an established career, you've already got a fan base, you've already got people who are going to follow you, you know, and some of them are going to like where you're taking things, some of them might not, but either way you've already, you know, made your money, and you're probably older and don't really care about trying to impress people anymore. I'm probably overstating this. It probably isn't like as bad as I imagine. Most of these bands, for instance, that do this like are still popular. Opeth's new albums still sell well. Lots of people still like them. I just can't shake that feeling every time an album comes out that like the fan base doesn't like, but the artist is like, oh, it's my favorite thing I've made yet. And I've seen this in like all kinds of different fields, including from myself, you know, like I kept going on and on about how I thought like that Girlish Number video was like my best video I had written in like ages, and lots of people were just like, why? You know, it was really because it wasn't so much about the point I was making so much as I really liked the way I made the point and like the sentences and stuff I was really happy with. So, you know, it's, yeah, it was self-serving. It's my favorite thing I've written all year, but it probably won't be yours. And sometimes you just gotta figure out how to find the middle ground there. How do I make stuff that, like, is for the audience and for me? And a lot of the times the way to do that is something like doing the Unscripted Ava video, where, you know, I'm not spending all my time writing something that I don't find, like, I can't get anything technical out of. Like, it wouldn't have been satisfying to write that video, because while the point was interesting, I didn't have a way to write it that would have engaged me. So, like, rather than spend my time writing it, it's like, well, you know, if I just do it unscripted, it's not a huge tax on my mind. It's not me being bored by what I'm creating. But as long as I get the point out there, the people who are going to be interested in it, which is a lot more people than some of the other shit I'm working on, you know, it will still be successful. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm rambling at this point. I don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about anymore. So hopefully you got something out of that and that made sense.